Getting better at TFT means you have to get better at every aspect of the game, whether it be improving your fundamentals, learning simple facts about a unit or trait, or getting a deeper understanding of certain comps. And in this video, I've included a ton of tips for all of that, starting up with the first tip, which is that Rakan's spell scales with range. Since he targets the farthest away within attack range, the farther his range is, the more people he will disarm. This makes items like RFC and augments such as scoped weapons great on him. Scoped weapons as an augment is also great to replace RFC on melee carries like Olaf. This allows him to effectively run 4 items, as he gets RFC for free. But be careful with this augment, as it's terrible on units that need to be close to other units in order to be useful, like Diana, Lilia, and Silas. Lagoon is a trait that gives you loot at certain breakpoints, and here is the entire loot table. As you can see, the rewards get better and better, so make sure to play as many Lagoon champions as possible during PvE rounds, as you will beat those regardless and get a ton of free stacks. Serpahine shields allies within 2 hexes, but more importantly, she makes all the units she buffs deal magic damage on hit with her auto attacks. This means that if you put Morello on Serpahine, the units that get buffed by her spell will also apply Morello to the units they auto attack. Nomsy's trait changes every game. She can be a Cannoneer, Evoker, or Mage. To check which she is in your game, you could buy a Mage, check all the other mages by hovering over the icon and see if Nomsy is included, then buy a Cannoneer and do the same thing to check if she's included. If she's not a Mage or a Cannoneer, you know that she will be an Evoker that game. There are 3 different Treasure Dragons in set 7.5. We have the same Treasure Dragon as the last set that appears 40% of the time. We have the Order Treasure Dragon that appears 30% of the time, and it has this loot table, where it will often give you a Radiant item. And the last 30% of the time, the Chaos Dragon will appear. And that loot table is a little strange. There is a ton of full items, Ornn items, and emblems here. Naturally, this makes the Treasure Dragon feel quite chaotic. Blue Battery 1 and 2 sets the mana of the caster to 10 or 20 after they caster their spells. This means that blue buff combined with these augments does not work. However, these augments can replace blue buff, which is really powerful on champions like Soam, as you can go triple AP items on him, as you don't need a slot for blue buff anymore. Some units can solo stage 1-3 and 1-4. This is important to know, as sometimes you can sell to make 10 gold and interest sooner. Here is the list of all of them, and this will be linked down in the description as well. If you are able to make 10 gold early, you will heavily snowball your economy and be richer than the entire lobby. The strength of a comp will change based on the current patch, even though the comp might not have gotten nerfed or buffed at all. This is because certain comps get indirectly buffed or nerfed, if their counters get directly buffed or nerfed. If that sounded complicated, then don't worry, because the sponsor of today's video, the Meta TFT app, has you covered. Over on the comps page, it will tell you which comps counter each other, so if the counter of your favorite comp got nerfed, you know that your favorite comp got indirectly buffed. Inside the app, you can also see which comps are the strongest and how contested they are. And you can sort all of this data by the game mode, patch and date range, as well as which servers and ranks you want to include in the analysis. You can do the same analysis for the best units in the game by heading over to the units page. Here you can easily sort between only looking at certain traits, or only looking at 5-cost units. Here we can deduce that Aesol and Zoe are champions you want to avoid on this patch, and we can also see that Yasuo and Bard are fantastic units to put into any comp. If we want to play Yasuo with the best items, we simply click on him here, and here we get an overview of the best builds. We can also look at individual items, and here we can select for only normal items, or we can look to see what the best emblems to put on him are, or we can look and see what the best Ornn items on him are. The augments page will tell you which augments are the best to pick at any given point. You can sort by silver, gold, and prismatic. And you can also look at how good this is depending on if you picked it as the first, second, or third augment. And if you want to download this app yourself, then use my referral link down in the description or in the pinned comment to download the Meta TFT app today. Hurricane got reworked with set 7.5. Now you should think of the bolt almost like the same type of damage as Static Shiv, meaning the damage from the bolt can't crit, it can't heal the holder of the item, and it cannot be dodged by the champion getting hit. This item scales with raw AD though, so make sure to put this on an AD carry, and it's incredibly powerful when paired with a Deathblade. Since Cannoneers proc the trait every 5 auto attacks, they scale very well with attack speed. This means that items like Rageblade and Zeke's Herald are great to make the effect go off more often to increase your overall damage. Some augments give you value right away, and some give you the value over time. For example, Shapeshifter Heart or Component Grab Bag both give you all the value up front, but augments like Loot Master or Birthday Present give you the value over time. Therefore, when picking an augment that doesn't instantly give you a power spike, know that you will be farther behind right now than the other players. So if you are win streaking and you want to continue the win streak, consider picking an augment that gives you all the value straight away to increase your power level as much as possible. You can reroll your augments once per game. You either do it on stage 2-1, 3-2, or 4-2. Generally speaking, you should avoid rerolling your augment on stage 2-1, as you still have 2 more shops with augments to go through later in the game. Additionally, you should be careful before rerolling silver augments early, as they have low impact. On the other hand, you should not hesitate to reroll prismatic augments if they suck, as they give your team a gigantic power spike, so you need to make sure you pick up a relevant prismatic. So think twice before rerolling augments early, or if it's a silver augment shop. Frozen Heart got replaced by Protector's Vow in set 7.5. This is an aura item that gives a shield and resistances to all allies within 3 hexes once the wearer drops below 50% HP. This is really powerful if your comp likes to clump up more, or if you're running a lot of melee units that will be in range of the item. If you have multiple Protector's Vows, make sure to spread them out on different units, as the shield given to allies only lasts for 3 seconds. Malphite ults at the start of every fight, which results in him stunning himself. This means that he is great to counter assassins if you position him like this, where you are cornering and blocking off your carry. And you overall need to pay attention if he needs to run and get in range of a unit, as it might take him longer, and it might expose some of your other melee units that you want to keep safe. Certain augments can replace items. For example, if you need BT on your carry, but you get offered Celestial Blessing, now you might not need BT anymore, as you get healing from the augment. Another thing you could do is to run Hodge instead of BT, as now you get a little bit of healing from the Hodge, but you get more damage overall. Astral got reworked in set 7.5. Now they don't give Astral shops anymore, instead they give you an orb at the end of every player combat. Here is the full loot table, and the value of the orb is based on the total star level of all of your champions. So the more 2 and 3 star Astrals you have, the better the rewards are. Mirage has many different traits, and here are all of them. One important trait is Pirates. Here is the loot table, and if you want to play this comp, you need to use your gold to get 3 star Nunu and Deja, because if you don't, you are going to fall off as you don't get any power from the Mirage trait itself, as it's only giving you stuff after the combat is over. Portable Forge is a great augment as you get a very powerful Orin item. All of these items are great in certain situations and terrible in others. Therefore, when picking this augment, you need to have a somewhat versatile team that can utilize many different of the Orin items. Zyra ults in the row with the most units in it. Getting hit by this spell is deadly for your carry, so to avoid that, make sure your carry is alone in a row. In this example, I moved my Twitch to the 3rd row to leave Xayah alone, and now the frontline gets hit instead of Xayah. Shojin got a small rework in set 7.5. Now it only gives 5 extra mana per auto, but it also gives base AP. This means that units that need the same amount of auto attacks to cast their spells with both Shojin and blue buff always want Shojin now for the extra AP. A great example of this is Lux, who needs 60 mana to cast and therefore wants Shojin. The first time Bard drops a Dude, it will always increase the legendary odds by 1%. This means that if you don't want to run Bard in your team, but you see him in your shop, consider playing him for 1 turn to get the increased legendary odds. Aura items put on the unit you sacrifice with Darkflight will still buff the rows next to it. For example here, Rengar will get buffed by triple Seek's Herald, even though Sejuani gets killed at the start of the fight. Tempo is a word that gets thrown around a lot, and it's a term for judging how strong the lobby is. If the lobby is high tempo, that means that a lot of people are leveling aggressively and slamming a lot of items, but if the lobby is low tempo, then a lot of players are being more careful with spending gold. Take note of this, as in a high tempo lobby, you fall off fast if you don't get strong, but in a low tempo lobby, you fall off in the late game if you don't eco properly. Lee Sin got reworked in set 7.5, and now he shreds MR with a spell. This means that he will apply the MR before he deals damage, so you don't need Static Shiv or Spark anymore to get through the tanks. Some augments can change the way you itemize your carry. For example, Hotshot can replace Giant Slayer, as it helps you get through tanks. Sunfireboard can replace Morello and Sunfire in lobbies where you need anti-heal, and Combat Training can replace Deathblade in reroll comps. Last Whisper shreds the most armor out of anything in TFT. It shreds 60%, which is more than the 40% you get from Twitch and Whispers. This makes it a great item on Cannoneers, as the proc from the trait shreds armor of all the units it gets applied to. Speaking of armor reduction, this does not stack in TFT, so if you have Last Whisper which shreds 60%, but then Twitch ults the target with a spell and shreds 40%, the game will pick the higher percentage and apply that. But Armor Ignore can stack, so if you have the Weak Spot augment, it will ignore the remaining armor after you have applied resistance shredding. So if a tank has 100 armor and you shred 60%, weak spot will ignore 20% of the remaining 40 armor. A higher costing unit is not always stronger than a lower costing one. If you have a 2-star Olaf with BT, Rageblade, and QSS, and then you hit a 1-star Siphon, it's not always better to sell Olaf and transfer the items over to Siphon. This will depend a little on your synergies and the amount of gold you have though, but generally speaking, you want to wait until Siphon is 2-starred in that case before he is better. Pantheon is a great tank that can also deal a surprising amount of damage, but an important thing to note about his spell is that it applies anti-heal to the units he hits. This is really important to utilize if you don't have Sunfire or Morello in your team. Tempest got a small rework in set 7.5, now it gives percentage unit damage instead of percentage attack speed. This makes it a much better trait for units like Aoshin and Lee Sin that didn't really benefit much from the attack speed. They benefit so much more from the percentage damage that now you play Lee Sin with 6 Tempests instead of just 2 Tempests back in set 7.0. If your carry doesn't have Last Whisper but needs Armor Shred, Tekken and 2 Whisper can be a great play. Make sure to line the Whisper champions up with your carry so you shred armor for them. When making items, you need to think about the overall best case scenario. For example, if you have Bow, Cloak, Tear, and Glove, and you are playing an AD comp, in those comps, Tears are really bad as they don't build into any good items. So to kill off the Tear and make it into a useful item, we can make Hodge with Tear and Glove, and then make Hurricane with the other 2 items. In this case, Last Whisper might have been the best item to build, but then we would have been left with a Chalice, which does little for AD comps. Instead, we got 2 good items to put in our carry, so think about the best overall case with all your items and how you're going to get rid of the bad ones. The Beast Done Augment gives 35% attack speed to all units that start next to a Shapeshifter. Note that you don't even need Shapeshifters active to get value from this augment, so you can just play 1 Jace to give 35% attack speed to your carry without even playing the trait. Pandora's bench rolls units into a random unit of the same cost. This is insanely good for hitting 6 cost Dragon 3-stars, as there is only Zippy and Nomsy that are 6 cost units. But it is terrible for hitting regular 3 cost 3-stars though, as there are 11 in total of them. So only use this augment if you're looking to 3-star 6 costs, 4 costs, or 5 costs. If you're playing Zoe, she has 4 different spells, and one of them is Janus Tornado from set 3.5. This spell buffs the attack speed of all allies it hits. Therefore, you want to put your carry next to Zoe so that she ults your carry with the tornadoes. If you have 100 HP, Tekken and Soraka is OP, as she will kill all the units that she hits with her spell. This is a rare scenario, but if it happens, you will snowball the game like crazy. Kai'Sa deals more and more damage the longer into the fight she gets. Because of this, you want to have a tanky team when playing her as a carry, so prioritize making tank items and putting in more tanks than you normally would in other comps when playing Kai'Sa. Recombobulator is a great augment to pick when you don't have direction, and you also have some higher costing units on your board. Even though what you get is completely random, it will be higher value. But if you already have a good board and you know what direction you want to go in, then this augment is not good as you don't want to lose out on your direction. The last tip is to like the video and subscribe to this channel, as I post a ton of other TFT content focused on helping you improve and rank up. And if you want cheat sheets for any of my comp guides, they are available for YouTube members and patrons, and links to those are down in the description. And if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 9,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.